Oh, hi, it's Tanya here again from Find Your English Voice. As promised, here with some tips on how you can improve your English. And today we're talking about why English goals often fail by February or sometimes March. But the statistics and the data shows that often when people make these New Year's resolutions in January, everybody starts with really good intentions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to change this. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to improve my English. All the things that people often say for New Year's resolutions is that they often don't work long term. And what actually does work instead? So what does work instead? What is that? People often say, this year I'm going to speak more confidently in meetings, I'm going to be fluent, I'm going to improve my English. And then they notice that these things kind of tail off along with the motivation. It can be quite difficult to keep these things up if you're relying only on motivation, and big goals rely on a lot of motivation. And also we need to be more careful what kind of goals, or the way that we're framing those goals, the way that we are labeling those goals. For example, people who want to speak more confidently, that's difficult to measure from one part of the year, one part of the month to the next, unless you have recordings that you can go back and double check. And it's a little bit vague. Speak more confidently compared to who? Compared to you, maybe in the past, or someone else? It's a little vague. And when people say they want to stop making mistakes, or they want to have perfect English, or when I know enough vocabulary, I can do this, or when I've learned more grammar, I can do that. But not making mistakes, it's not realistic. It's too big a thing. And really, I feel like if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. People who make mistakes are people at the edge of their comfort zone, and people that are improving, getting bigger, getting better. And sometimes people talk about they want to be fluent. What is fluent? How does one person measure fluent to another? Does somebody who speaks with mistakes consider themselves fluent? Are they fluent if they can understand and be understood? I would say yes. So everybody's got a different view, a different kind of perception of what these things mean, what confidence means, what perfect means, what fluent means. So I think it's just a lot. Hmm, what would you say? I mean, I don't know if one is easier than the other, but there are things that are a lot more measurable and actionable that you can hold yourself accountable for. And what the research shows is that habits stick when they are small. And that's because if they're small, you're more likely to do them. People are more likely to go for a 10-minute walk than they are to go for a 10-kilometer run on day one. So start smaller than you think you need to, and be specific about it, what it is that you actually want to do, rather than just, I want to be more confident. Be more specific than that, and it doesn't really matter what it is that you do, but it needs to be specific, and you need to be able to measure it, and it needs to be to hold yourself accountable for it, and repeat that daily. So small actions can lead to really big goals. Speak confidently in meetings, as we've talked about, it's a bit vague. Even though people can understand what the picture of that is, they know what it means. But can we actually, break it down into something that is really more specific and actionable? For example, ask one question per meeting. I mean, that really says it all. Can you ask, or will you ask one question per meeting? The answer to that is usually yes or no, and you can count and check off whether or not you've done it. So set specific measurable goals. Like practice English every day. Obviously, that's great for people who are able to do that and want to do that. That's great. But sometimes it can be a bit vague to the point of people say, oh, but what shall I do? How shall I do it? So again, set some specific measurable goal. record one voice note after lunch, before breakfast. Write for a couple of minutes at the end of the day in my journal about what happened today in English. Find something on YouTube or something to watch on television and watch it in English with subtitles and then without subtitles. Something that you can actually say, yes, I did it, or no, I didn't. So that moves us on to this week's challenge. Pick one small action and repeat it 3 times. Pick one small action and repeat that small action 3 times. And it's really, really useful. If you can tell someone that you're going to do it, then you can hold yourself accountable. Have you got a teacher, a tutor, a coach, a friend, somebody at work, a colleague, somebody in your family? Even if you feel that you really don't have anybody that you feel that you want to share this with or you want to ask, you can go online and search for accountability groups or accountability websites. There are these apps and websites where people will hold each other accountable. You don't need to know each other. It's just one person holding another person accountable for their goals. And it really works. Try it. I know it seems a bit, really, does this really make a difference? Anything that gets you to actually do it is a good thing to do. The best types of exercises, challenges, whatever it is that you're going to do, the best types of them are the ones you actually do, not the ones that you say you're going to do. So start smaller than you think and try to do what we've talked about so far. And I'd really love to know how it went. I'd love to hear about your experiences with your specific and measurable English goals this week. And I wish you the very best of luck. If you'd like to subscribe here for weekly tips and support, feel free, go ahead. And here are some social links. And then it just leaves me to wish you a very good week. And goodbye for now. See you next week.